latest robot news now. There is a warning today that the rise in automation and artificial intelligence is damaging social mobility.
A report by the education charity, the Sutton Trust, says low-paid workers are most likely to lose jobs to machines. Our technology correspondent Tom Cheshire reports.
According to a report, not only will automation lead to job losses, it will also reduce social mobility because it will mainly affect low-paid workers.
This really is about automation, it's about artificial intelligence, and what we're worried about is that those are taking the sort of paraprofessional jobs, if you like, the jobs that were the stepping stones for people to rise up the social ladder.
According to the report, increasing social mobility to the same level as the Western European average would boost GDP by around £39 billion in total. But only 29% of us believe today's youth will have a better quality of life than their parents, down from 42% in 2003. Part of the reason for that is automation. 15 million jobs in the UK could disappear because of new technologies. It's hard to predict who gets the spoils of automation.
So take an old piece of technology like the cash machine or automated teller machine. It replaced human tellers, but it didn't take their jobs. Cash machines meant there were fewer human tellers per branch, but it also meant the banks opened more branches because they were cheaper. Tellers started doing more complex tasks like selling mortgages, advising on accounts, and they got better paid. But there's a sting in this tale of automation. A new type of automation, internet and mobile banking, powered by artificial intelligence, means there's going to be 8% less jobs in human telling by 2024, and banks will keep that saving.
To ponder on some of this, Professor Martin Smith, robotics expert at Middlesex University, and Mark Bishop, who's a professor in cognitive computing at Goldsmiths. Gentlemen, a very good afternoon to both of you. Martin, let's start with you. We do a lot of stories on this news channel about social mobility. We do a fair number about robotics and AI. First time I can remember we've sort of spliced the two together. Do you see the connection?
Yes, the robots depend on artificial intelligence to be able to do anything useful, and that's the reason for that.
Mark, the narrative most people seem to accept is that, you know, through the historical sweep, Industrial Revolution, suddenly if you're doing a job out there labouring in the fields, you were replaced, weren't you? Ditto the factory. So it was the blue-collar workers who were getting hit first. What's new about AI, it seems, as our report from Tom Cheshire was making clear, it's the white-collar workers who are getting the welly this time.
Absolutely, and in the kind of work we do at Goldsmiths at the Centre for Intelligent Data Analytics, we're trying to use AI to automate some pretty high-skilled white-collar jobs in analysing data to predict future trends for companies to inform company investment decisions and future policy directions. And these are jobs that historically have escaped automation by AI. But I think in terms of, in the context of mobility, we need to really be thinking about the impact on particularly low-skilled jobs. I personally am particularly concerned about the impact on the transport sector, which is pretty huge in the UK, of the very imminent revolution in autonomous vehicles. We have a firm in Singapore called Nutonomy who are predicting they will launch a mobile autonomous vehicle taxi service in 2018. We're expecting Daimler to be producing autonomous lorries and transport infrastructure by 2020. We're not talking now about science fiction predictions that might occur in 50 or 100 years' time. We're talking about pretty near-term events, and I think this is going to have considerable disruption to the UK economy and to people's lifestyles. People who are doing analytic work for a large company might be able to transfer their skills to go somewhere else, but if your main source of income is driving a taxi and that's taken away from you, and we also see the impact of automation in, for example, Amazon's work in autonomous shops, it's the field of potential employees is getting smaller and smaller, and this must worry government when you're going to potentially have a lot of people who are going to find it very difficult to get jobs.
Yeah, I mean, Martin, you know, there's Mark. He's actually sort of debunking what the Sutton Trust have said really a little bit. I think, you know, to paraphrase, Mark, what you've just said, it's not necessarily white-collar workers. It's people who maybe don't have that many qualifications. I think I've heard one figure from America suggesting that the automation of lorry driving in America alone will see 3 million jobs lost. So it's actually people at the bottom of the work pile, if I can put it that way, who will suffer first and most.
Yes, that's sort of inevitable, really. Those jobs that are dirty or dangerous or drudgery, routine, repetitive tasks will go to robots. But you could argue that people shouldn't be doing those jobs anyway. They should be doing jobs that are more rewarding intellectually. We've seen
Martin, you can't say that, can you? I mean, there are lorry drivers and taxi drivers, in their downtime right now watching this broadcast thinking, how dare he say that? I've stumped you with that one. Mark, let's go back to me. Mark, let's go back to you. Back in the day, the Luddites said, you're not taking away our weaving machines. We're annoyed to the point of violence about this. Will we see a public reaction as this thing comes down the track at us?
Well, a lot of people are trying to put on to government to think about policy on a national basis with respect to the potential benefits and dangers of artificial intelligence. And this is really an issue for government to address if AI does deliver. And at the moment, if we to look at certainly the advertising material put out by firms like Ford, by Uber, by Autonomy and other people who are investing in autonomous vehicles, if we to take their words seriously, and I do, then this is a problem that's going to hit governments across the world fairly soon. And there needs to be this needs to be taken into consideration. How are we going to enable people to live if they can't earn a job?
Mark, let's come on to that. I mean, Martin Smith, there is the question of the policy response in the face of this. And one idea that is increasingly volunteered now is the idea of a minimum income, which says, look, if we're going to have all this robotics, we're going to have all this AI, if we're going to have so many people supplanted in their place of work by machines, but the corporations keep on, doing very well, thanks very much indeed, we've got to find some way of compensating those people who lose their jobs, hence the minimum income. What do you think?
I think that's right. I mean, there are people like me who enjoy their jobs and would work anyway, but there are plenty of people who don't particularly want to work or enjoy working. They're doing it just for the money. And provided we can arrange that they are given a minimum wage, then society will survive. But the danger is if we just take away the jobs and they have no means of getting a reasonable income to keep them happy, that would be a very dangerous and unstable situation for society.
Mark, we three middle-aged men have made our choices. We're going to struggle to retrain now. But when I talk to my children, and we'll be talking in the future about the sorts of careers they elect to choose, this has got to be factored in, hasn't it? And it's not always that obvious. If one of my kids says, I want to be a hairdresser, actually, low-skilled, yes. Likely to be replaced by a robot? I don't think so.
Absolutely, and in fact, I can recommend some reading for your children. There's a report by the Oxford Martin Group at Oxford University by Osborne and Frey in 2013 called The Future of Employment, and at the back of that, as an appendix, there's about 1,000 occupations that are ranked in terms of their risk of automation. So you can look, for example, things that are very unlikely to get automated in the near future, jobs like psychotherapy, people who have to deal with people who've got substance abuse problems, things like that. On the other hand, jobs that are mathematical technicians, people who are just doing sums, people who are selling insurance policies, things like that. They're at the other end of the spectrum and they're probably quite likely to get automated. So you might want to have a look at that list and discuss it with your children.
Martin, in terms of the jobs that are most vulnerable, Mark's just hinted at a couple, but it tends to be the ones that are, and Tom Cheshire was making the point, entry-level jobs, clerking jobs, call centres. These are the really vulnerable areas, people who answer the phone and give you the insurance quote. If you're in that kind of job, should you seriously think, okay, this is such a threat, I need to really reconsider my future plans?
I would certainly, if I was in that sort of job, be looking at doing a bit of evening education, and I would be suggesting that government should be doing a lot more about education for people so they can move out of the jobs at risk and into jobs that are more likely to have a strong future.
Martin Smith and Mark Bishop, thanks both very much indeed. Really interesting stuff. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And I can give you Colin's email address, all you hairdressers out there, if you have any comments about him suggesting that you're low-skilled.